Ly Tu Diem. Hello everyone, I wish you all good health and peace in life. In a world where power and money often rule over hearts, CEO Toan made a choice that left many speechless. He walked away from his $1 million fortune, all because the woman he loved disappeared without a trace. To Deem, the gentle soul who once lit up his darkest days, was gone. And now, he searches endlessly, holding on to a hope that grows fainter each day. What if she never comes back? What if all he gave up, his success, his empire, his name, was for a love that was already lost? But love, when true, does not ask for guarantees. It simply believes. This is not just a story about a man who gave up everything. It's about whether love, once lost, can ever find its way home again.
When a man has everything, he rarely fears losing. But when Toan lost to Deem, the woman who once risked her life to save his, he realized just how empty everything truly felt. Toan had built an empire. As the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, he lived in luxury, surrounded by power, wealth, and influence. Yet none of those things could bring him peace when Deem vanished from his life like a leaf swept away by the wind. She had walked away quietly, carrying her pain, her fears, and the haunting trauma of the family who once tried to sell her like an object. She felt she didn't belong in his world, and so she left without a word, without a goodbye. At first, Toan thought he could manage, but her absence grew heavier with each sunrise. His days turned hollow. His dreams, once filled with business plans and negotiations, were now consumed by memories of a girl who smiled through her sorrow, who nursed him back to life in a forest hut when he was lost and broken. He tried everything, hiring search teams, posting discreet inquiries, even revisiting the forest where they once hid together. His mother and his friends worried. His investors grew impatient, but Toan made a choice that shocked everyone. He stepped down as CEO, handed over control of his fortune, and began a journey not for power, but for love. "She saved me when I was nobody," he told his best friend one night. "Now that I have everything, why can't I save her?" His search led him to markets, villages, and shelters. Every woman with long black hair made his heart race, only to leave him disappointed again and again. He sold his car, moved into a small apartment, and lived simply just in case she ever came back and needed a place to feel safe. He was no longer CEO Toan, the man people bowed to. He was simply Toan, the man waiting. And yet, months passed. Seasons changed. The pain didn't go away. He started to ask himself, what if she never returns? What if she's hiding for good? But even then, he whispered into the silence, "I will still wait, even if she never comes back. She will always have a home in my heart." Because love, the kind that grows through pain, through storms and sacrifice, does not die just because someone leaves. And sometimes, waiting is the most courageous thing a person can do. Toan spent day after day searching for Deem, not just with money, but with his heart. He no longer sat behind the CEO's desk, signing $1 million contracts or attending prestigious meetings. Instead, he walked the streets, asked strangers, visited villages, and even returned to the small house where she once nursed him back to health. He remembered her gentle voice, her trembling hands holding a bowl of soup, and the pain in her eyes when she said, "I'm used to being forgotten." That memory haunted him more than any business loss. Toan's mother, who once opposed their relationship, saw her son growing thinner, lonelier, quieter. She realized that the fortune he left behind was nothing compared to the love he was losing. "She saved my life," Toan said one night, staring into the cold rain outside his window. And now, I feel like I'm losing mine without her. The people around him tried to help, but no clue led to Deem. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. Rumors spread that she had gone abroad, or worse, that her past family had taken her away. But Toan refused to believe anything unless he saw it with his own eyes. One morning, while passing a quiet mountain market, Toan saw a small figure selling herbs and firewood. The clothes were different, the hair longer, the face thinner, but the way she gently smiled at an old lady, the way her fingers trembled from the cold, he knew. Deem, he whispered. She turned slowly. Their eyes met. She froze. So did he. And in that moment, wet, quiet, filled with longing, nothing else mattered. Not the money, not the pain, just the fact that she was there, alive. He took a step forward, but she turned and ran. Days turned into weeks. The house once filled with warmth and hope now echoed with silence. CEO Toan sat alone in the garden, the leaves rustling above him, whispering memories of Tu Diem's gentle laughter and the peaceful afternoons they once shared. He had searched every village, contacted every hospital, and even hired private investigators. But there was still no trace of her. Each night, Toan looked at the small scarf she had left behind, the only thing she forgot when she disappeared. It smelled faintly of wildflowers, just like the forest where they had first met. He clung to it like a lifeline, refusing to give up hope. His friends tried to console him, suggesting he move on. Even his mother, who had once opposed Deem, now softened her heart, regretting the harshness she had shown. But Toan couldn't let go, not yet. One stormy evening, while driving back from a rural area where someone had claimed to see a girl like Deem, Toan's car broke down. Soaked by the rain, he knocked on the nearest cottage door for help. The door creaked open, and there she stood, Tu Diem, thinner, pale, and dressed in old clothes, but her eyes, wide in shock and disbelief, still held that same light. Toan, she whispered, her voice trembling. He couldn't speak. He stepped forward slowly, afraid she would vanish like a dream. But she didn't. Instead, she burst into tears and collapsed into his arms. I was scared. I didn't want to bring trouble to your life, she sobbed. Toan held her tightly, burying his face in her hair. I gave everything up, Deem. None of it matters without you. She looked up at him, the rain mixing with her tears. You gave it all up. He nodded, gently brushing a wet strand of hair from her cheek. I only wanted to find you. And now that I have, please, don't leave again. A long silence passed between them. Then, slowly, Deem nodded. I won't. And just like that, beneath the stormy sky, surrounded by nothing but the sound of rain and the beating of two long-lost hearts, Tu Diem finally came home.
As the weeks slipped by, Toan found himself growing more anxious every night. He returned home hoping for news, hoping someone had seen a girl with gentle eyes and a soft voice selling wild fruit or wandering alone, but nothing came. He spent his mornings managing what remained of his business, now stripped of luxury, and his afternoons quietly posting flyers, walking through villages, scanning marketplaces for any sign of her. Money no longer meant anything. His world had shrunk to one question: where is Deem? Meanwhile, far from the city, Tu Diem was working at a small herbal shop run by a kind old woman who had taken her in. After finding her collapsed on a mountain trail, Deem had changed her name to avoid being found by the cruel family who once tried to sell her. She kept her head down, worked hard, and carried Toan's memory deep within her heart, believing he must have forgotten her by now. But one rainy afternoon, the old woman returned from town holding a wrinkled flyer in her hands. "Isn't this you?" she asked, pointing to the faded photo of Deem next to the words missing. "Ly Tu Diem, if seen. Contact CEO Toan." Deem's heart stopped. Tears welled in her eyes as the truth crashed over her. Like a wave, he never stopped searching. The next morning, Deem packed a small bag and boarded a bus back to the city. Her hands trembled the entire ride, not from fear, but from overwhelming hope. What if he had given up? What if he had moved on? But when she stepped off the bus, soaked in mist and uncertainty, a familiar voice called out her name. Deem. Toan was there, standing with an umbrella, as if he'd been waiting every day since she left. They stared at each other silent, breathless. Then she ran to him, and in that one embrace, all the pain, the distance, the years of loss faded. She had come back, and Toan, who had given up everything, finally had what he truly needed, her.
Sometimes love demands more than words. It demands sacrifice, faith, and unwavering hope. Toan gave up everything, his wealth, power, and status, not for certainty, but for the faint hope of finding the Deem again. His heart was guided not by logic, but by love. And though the world may have called him foolish, he knew that no fortune could replace the soul who had once saved his life and filled his days with silent warmth.
To Deem, on the other hand, carried wounds deeper than what the eyes could see. She had been betrayed, silenced, and cast aside by those meant to protect her. Yet in the midst of suffering, she found the courage to be kind, the strength to survive, and the grace to still believe in good. Their story teaches us that true love is not about possession, but about protection. It is about choosing someone even when the road is hard, and waiting even when the wait feels endless. Because in love, the greatest act is not to hold on, but to never give up.